Hanoi, capital city of Vietnam. 7.5 million people live here. In the winter, it's chilly and damp. In the summer, hot, humid, subtropical. The boulevards and many of the buildings are French. But its heart and soul is always, always Vietnamese. Americans coming here as tourists for the first time, especially veterans of the war, are shocked by how friendly the place is. People are genuinely happy to see you. Vietnam is a young country. Almost half of Vietnamese are under the age of 30. Fewer every year even remember what they call here the American War. Those years were a defining time for just about everyone, Vietnamese or American, who lived through them. And though there are still a lot of conflicted feelings back home, for most Vietnamese these days, the war has become an abstraction, not even a memory.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
It's such a pleasure.
Oh, and we have a beer ready to go. Great.
Yes. So we're doing by bottle or we're going to pour it in a glass?
How would you do it if I wasn't here?
I would put it in the glass.
Okay.
In Vietnam, and particularly in the north, it would be very improper for a woman to drink straight from the bottle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad I know this now. Cheers.
Thao is an Eisenhower Fellow and a Fulbright Scholar. She's devoted her career to help strengthen the bonds between Vietnam and the U.S.
Today, we drove to the outskirts of Hanoi. Cranes, tall buildings, people moving from the country to the city. Marc Jacobs, Prada. I mean, this is a very young country now.
Oh, very much a young nation. They like to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. They like to spend a lot of the time on the internet. The history of our country is a history of wars. We had 1,000 years under the Chinese. And then we had 80 years under the French. And then the Japanese came in. And when the Americans left, finally in 1975, we got involved with Cambodia. So we only have peace since 1989. Just in a matter of a few decades, the entire population will be those without any war experience. And that's a great thing.
And what are we eating today?
Well, we are going to have a bánh cuốn.
And that means...
Rice roll. Very thin.
Like a crepe.
Yes, it's like crepe. And inside, ground minced pork and putty and mushroom.
Ah.
You dip it in, and there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good. Everything we do internationally, someone refers back to the Vietnam experience. You know, let's not do that again.
Let's not repeat Vietnam.
But I find it interesting that the people who had perhaps the most painful experience were among the first to reach out. I think the John McCain story is particularly interesting because here's a guy who had an atrocious experience here in prison, and yet he has been among the most vocal supporters of normalizing relations.
It took several trips to Vietnam, and so you could see Vietnam in a different light. It's no longer a war. It's a country with people.
Have you been out with returning veterans from...
Oh, yes, all the time.
They often want to go to the area that they serve.
Oh, yes.
They often even meet with the people they fought.
Yes.
B-52 pilots come to the areas they unloaded their bombs.
Yes.
What is that experience like? What do you see when they come?
Extremely emotional. Extremely emotional. People burst into tears. The memory I kept of you 45 years ago was an enemy. I did anything and everything to protect my life and to protect the people in my platoon. But today, when I see you again, not as an enemy, as a person, everything just disappear. All the bad feeling disappear. And now you actually know how, oh, are you married? You know, how many children do you have? You know, what are you up to? The life turned into a new chapter. And this chapter is a good chapter.